Okay, so it is 7:01 my time, 8:01 for those of you in Central Time Zone. We are going to go ahead and get rolling tonight, and I am so excited for this call. If I'm being honest, the Lord laid it on my heart to reach out to Andrea about hosting this call about 6 months ago, and I procrastinated, as humans sometimes do. But this is something that's been rolling around in my head for a long time. For anyone who is on here who does not know me, my name is Angie Atkinson. I am a mom of four kiddos, ages 4 through 14. I work in a holistic health office, and I have been there for about 13 years. I am what they call a nutrition response testing practitioner. That may not mean anything to you guys, and if it doesn't, that's okay. But basically, we use a form of muscle testing to determine what supplements, what food choices, what lifestyle changes people need to use to become the healthiest version of themselves so that they can feel their best. That is the business that I am in. I was in that business for 5 years before Plexus found me. I was not looking for an MLM supplement company. In fact, I saw a lot of them come through my office, clients wanting me to test them for different products. And if I'm being transparent, most of them tested really poorly. And so it kind of put a sour taste in my mouth to multi-level marketing in terms of supplements. When my friend and sponsor Wesley reached out to me about Plexus, I politely told her that I had a health routine that was serving me well and I did not need the products. And then I proceeded to watch her build her business over 6 months to the point that she was earning as much as I was within 6 months' time in the holistic nutrition world with Plexus. And my husband got laid off from his job. Long story short, I was more open to the opportunity. She sent me samples of the products. They muscle tested well. And I thought, you know what? I am all in. Let's try this. Let's do this thing. So that was 2016. So I've been with Plexus for 8 years now and in the holistic health world for 13. Basically though, I mean, I don't have fancy letters behind my name. I go to trainings all the time, multiple trainings a year. Obviously what Plexus puts out for us, which is fabulous, as well as, other trainings on hormones, heart health, aging gracefully, menopausal women, those kinds of things, like the things that we go through when we are peeling back those layers of our health to get healthy. So that is where my experience comes in. I am much more functional than a book nerd, although I do love the information side of things too. So what I am not a doctor, a nurse, a medical professional. So none of this is going to be medical advice. This is going to be all based on my experience, what I see talking to bodies. And for reference, I see an average of about 30 people a week in the office in the 2 days that I work in the office. So that gives you an idea about how many bodies I've talked to over the course of 13 years. It's a lot of bodies. I love what I do. We've been able to keep our family healthy through nutrition products. Since I started in the holistic world 13 years ago, nobody in our household of 6 has needed antibiotics in that time. So a lot of what we do is really, really cool. If we're proactive about it, we can avoid medical intervention and only rely on medical intervention for the types of emergencies that you would want to see a doctor for, right? I always tell my clients, if my thyroid is off, take me to my office. If my arm is broken, take me to the ER. So it's that discernment to know where you need to be and when. But I think in terms of our long-term health, the more that we can be proactive and avoid medical intervention, the better off we are going to be. Now, what I do does work with people who already have a diagnosis and have, medications that they take. That's the beauty of Plexus and supplements and being able to do both together to optimize the outcome. So I'm not anti-medicine by any means. I'm just being proactive about avoiding when I can. So I focus on function. Everything I bring to you today is going to be centered around root wellness and total body function. I want to let you know that when people join me for Plexus, I start 90% of them on triplex. So just write that down in your notes. Pretty much everybody starts on triplex unless they just really tell me something or I know something about them otherwise that would steer me in a different direction. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we will get there, I promise you. But I want to talk for just a little bit about why people don't get better on triplex. Put in the comments, drop in the comments. Has anyone ever had someone start triplex who did not get better? Who was like, I'm not getting any better energy. I'm not seeing bowel changes. I'm not sleeping well at night. Whatever they joined for just didn't improve. Tony, it can happen because they're not consistent. Absolutely. I'm talking about your people who you know were consistent with the products. Did anybody have anyone that didn't get better? Most people do feel improvement from triplex. So that's, of course, why I start 90% of people on it. If they don't, I want to talk a little bit about this. Bodies are dynamic. And so the root cause of a problem is not going to be the same between one person and another. It will not always be the same. So keep that in mind. What triplex does do, I see it address blood sugar imbalance really beautifully. That is one root of balanced hormones. So we have 3 master hormones in our body. We have adrenaline, cortisol, and insulin. Slim addresses insulin, so it's taking care of that, right? Most people do not have adrenaline issues unless they're like jumping out of planes for a living or they've been through a lot of trauma. Those would be the 2 times that I would say adrenaline probably needs work. Cortisol, however, can come from a chronic high stress lifestyle. So if I know that someone has a chronic high stress lifestyle, I'm really going to heavily consider also Restore, now that we have it, for cortisol balance, and the sleep gummy because of the melatonin and the other calming things, the lemon balm, ashwagandha, those things that are in the sleep gummy, because they are going to help. Cortisol and melatonin are on a 24-hour loop. If one is imbalanced, the other is most certainly not balanced well, right? So if we can supplement melatonin, and let me just say, I used to be really anti-melatonin, you guys. I was one of those that was like, do not do melatonin, but I'm not anti-melatonin after learning more about it through training. What I am is anti-melatonin as a Band-Aid. I do not believe that just because you are not sleeping well, you should take melatonin every day for the rest of your life, because there's another problem. There's an underlying thyroid or nervous system or adrenal problem going on if you can't sleep chronically, if you have insomnia. But melatonin will work on cortisol reprogramming. So all of that to say, blood sugar imbalance, triplex is fabulous for. If there's some other hormonal things going on, there might be a better fit for people. And then triplex also does address gut health stuff, right? So food sensitivities, if people have a gluten sensitivity or a dairy sensitivity, they'll start on triplex and they will get better. Would they be even better if they stopped eating the food they were sensitive to? Yeah, probably, but they may not know they're sensitive to that food. And, sometimes people will start on triplex and instead of just feeling yucky all the time, they'll be able to pinpoint those foods because they're like, you know what, I think actually that gluten gives me problems. Has anyone had someone do like a reset and then they started reintroducing foods and noticed foods that were problematic for them that they hadn't seen previously? That can happen. So triplex helps heal the gut from food sensitivities, whether or not you eliminate the food, but obviously it will do that job more effectively if you do eliminate the food, at least for a period of time. Triplex also is going to help with immune system problems. So we are talking bacterial, candida, small parasites. The 2 immune system challenges I don't often see triplex help with would be viral situations, and we will get to those because Plexus does have tools for them, and large parasites. So just keep that in mind. And once again, we don't need a diagnosis, but we do want to understand why these products are making people better, or also understand why they may not be helping people. Because if we understand why they're not helping people, we can adjust them to different products, to incorporate different products so that they continue their healing journey. And I also want to say, this is something that they might notice within their first 60 to 90 days that they're not feeling better with something. But I would say also that they may notice this after a year, right? Because layers can continue to surface as the body heals. we can absolutely see that happen over time. So if you have somebody who, has been taking the products for a period of time, they felt fabulous for their first 9 months, and now they're stuck, it is probably time to switch up their product routine because they are probably onto a new layer of their healing. Now, sometimes you want to leave some of the products that they're currently taking in their routine. You don't want to take away something that made them feel better and then have them feel worse again. For example, you can pull my Probio 5 out of my dead hands. Like, I'm not going off of that thing as long as I'm on planet Earth, because I had been on gut health supplements prior to Plexus for candida issues for 5 years. And I noticed more changes in Probio 5 in 30 days than I did in 5 years on my previous supplements. So I will never not be on Probio 5. We're talking like severe depression gone, sugar cravings gone, definite better weight management, better energy levels, better sleep, all of those things. And so you have to gauge, okay, which products are serving them best? Which do they need to stay on? Ideally, they stay on Triplex and you add in other things, but we get to be mindful of people's budget if we're wanting them to be customers over the long haul, or we get them to earn some money with the business so that they can afford additional products. I also like to talk to them in month 1 when they're joining me about products that I think would be helpful for them down the road so that they are not as surprised when I make other suggestions. And the perks program is really fabulous for helping them earn those other products, right? Like if I think they're going to need some greens or need some sleep gummies, I can kind of talk to them about that and say, hey, if we keep your subscription on and you stay consistent with Triplex, we can have you get these products for free in a couple months to incorporate into your routine. And I think they would serve you in this way. So those are things that Triplex does and doesn't handle, but I want you to think about chemicals and heavy metal toxicity, because those are 2 things that Triplex really does not address. It will improve your overall gut health, but it will not detoxify the body of heavy metals. So the products that are better fits for that problem would be greens, active, and restore. Those are my 3 favorite products. So how would you know if someone needs those 3 products in addition to their Triplex? Hairdressers have really high chemical exposure, right? They're coloring people's hair all day. They're breathing it in, going in through their skin. People with tattoos. I'm covered in tattoos, by the way. Lots of heavy metal toxicity over here. Did not know that the tattoo inks are colored by heavy metals. So I have an entire back piece that I got prior to learning that by talking to bodies and going, hey, why would this person be poisoned with cobalt? Oh, wait, they have a giant blue tattoo. That's what's going on. So heavy metal toxicity there, that's the gift that keeps on giving. It continues to retoxify the body over time. So you'll have to continue to detoxify it. Mercury amalgams, if you have fillings in your mouth that are mercury, those will continue to release over time. They are toxic. If you have the means to remove them, you can do it with a holistic dentist, of course, and absolutely 100% while taking your greens, probably some restore. And I would not do it if you are not under the supervision of a holistic healthcare practitioner. I would never tackle that on my own without help from somebody, because I have a friend who did. She removed all of her mercury amalgams and she gained 70 pounds in 3 months, and her inflammation levels were so high that she thought she was going to die. She could eat nothing but oatmeal and bananas for like 6 months while she detoxified her body. So not trying to scare you all, but just to say, don't go say, Angie told me to get my mercury amalgams removed and then message me when you're miserable. Find somebody near you, talk to me, be sure that if that's something that you feel led to do, that you are doing it with supervision from someone in the holistic world. So chemicals, radiation, laborers who work with a lot of chemicals, right? Those are things. So my husband used to work on the oil rigs before he was laid off and before he started Plexus. He was exposed to heavy doses of radiation. He was doing work up in North Dakota where he should have been in protective suits, and he chose not to be. Part of that was his own poor decisions as a 20-something man who was just thinking he's invincible. But anyways, he came back from the oil rigs We actually had undergone fertility treatments to have our second baby, and she was 6 months old when he got laid off. But we were told not to get our hopes up. We were told we had a less than a 0.003 chance of conceiving her, even with the fertility treatments, because his sperm count and motility was so low. It was virtually non-existent. So we thought she was our miracle baby. Flash forward, he was muscle testing for radiation. We put him on a program to detoxify the radiation, which took a couple years. And then I found myself pregnant a couple years later. So we had 2 boys after that. They're 13 months apart because apparently the one wasn't enough to convince me that we actually could get pregnant again. So it was an exciting time in our life. I'm so grateful for Plexus. It allowed us both to be home full time over the pandemic with 2 babies and 2 big kids that were homeschooling. So it was a massive blessing for us. I think that it was also a big part of him getting his health in line so that we were able to conceive again, right? Plexus products, we did have some other products that we used during that time, and he made some dietary changes and shifts also. He needs to be gluten-free, and that was a big barrier for him up until he moved home and I could cook for him all the time, and then it got easier. Okay. So, and I say moved home, when he was gone for 2 weeks at a time and didn't have as much control over what he ate. So he would be like on and off the gluten, right? And he knew how miserable he felt, but he didn't know how to fix what he was doing when he was up there away from my kitchen. So I want to talk about how healing works in the body when we are looking at holistic health. So overall, we have basically the first thing we need to do is handle disease state. So disease state in the body is right here. And then genetics that you've been given are down here. So sometimes when we see people with food sensitivities, it's about their actual genetics, right? They do not have the gene to digest and process dairy products. That can be genetic. Sometimes it's about disease state. So candida and parasites feed heavily off of dairy, right? So sometimes people don't tolerate dairy because they're full of candida and parasites. You handle the candida and the parasite problem, boom, this whole stressor layer goes away. They're left with a genetic body that has a tolerance for dairy. So food sensitivities can be healed, unlike food allergies. That's a different situation. I do have a kiddo with food allergies, by the way. Baby number 3 has food allergies, and we live a gluten-free, dairy-free lifestyle. And we got to have a lot of fun when we found out he was allergic to fish, avocado, chocolate, and nuts. So we have a lot of fun over here with different foods. And food allergies, though, as the gut heals, as we've healed his gut and lessened that response in him, I can feed him a bite of the food he's allergic to, and he does not have a severe reaction. So it does bring peace of mind. Some of those things can have improvement. Whether or not you can actually heal a food allergy, I have a lot of questions over and doubts around, but food sensitivities can be healed. Sometimes they won't always. I used to get violently ill with dairy after detoxifying my body from parasites and handling my candida. I can eat dairy now and I get away with it, but I still don't feel as good as when I don't eat it. So I still choose not to eat it most of the time, but I have the peace of mind that when I'm traveling, if somebody accidentally uses a seasoning or puts something on my food that's got some dairy in it, I'm not going to be barfing in the bathroom an hour later, right? So a lot of times that's what we're looking for, is just like best quality of life despite the circumstances. Okay, so the first thing we're out to do, all of us, we're Plexus ambassadors. We're going to like change the world, everybody's holistic health. We are trying to handle their disease state. So ideally, we catch them before they have a diagnosis. Otherwise, we're trying to help them manage the diagnosis that they have. So these are what we call stressors, the most common causes of a disease state in the body. We've got chemicals, heavy metals, food sensitivities, immune system challenges, which I listed earlier for you, parasites, bacteria, candida, viruses. And then we also talk about scars in my clinic. Scars we are treating topically, so that's kind of a separate topic, but a lot of times people will have a surgery, have a scar, and it will cause an interference with their nervous system, and they'll be less able to heal as effectively after that major accident or surgery that resulted in a scar for them. So that's something that we treat with a cold light laser. Wheat germ oil topically, that can help them also. We're going to like just kind of cross that one off for tonight because that's not a Plexus thing. We're going to focus on the other four because Plexus can help with all of the other four things. And that's what I want you to focus on. So let's talk about what products would help with which one of these stressors. Let's talk about chemicals and heavy metals because they really behave pretty much the same in the body. They're going to challenge your filter organs, your liver, your kidneys. They are going to cause disruption to the nervous system potentially for people, which can result in all sorts of problems. If you have a confused nervous system, not only will your Plexus products not work appropriately for you, but your medications probably don't work the way they should either. Probably lifestyle changes don't have as much impact as you would hope to see. So that's what we're out to handle is those nervous system problems that are there from these stressors. So heavy metals and chemical toxicity, your products are going to be the following: greens, active, restore, and immune plus. Don't ask me why. It's what I see with bodies when I ask them questions about what they want. I know why, because there's a lot of things in those products that are going to help detoxify those filter organs. And also chelation, like the greens has a lot of things that are going to help the body to chelate those heavy metals. So we're trying to reduce overall stress on the liver, on the kidneys, on the nervous system, and help the body chelate those metals. Okay, food sensitivities. These are the products that I see help most when somebody has a food sensitivity. Probio 5, no surprise there, right? Because most of the time when they have a food sensitivity, they have an imbalance in their gut microbiome too, because the food sensitivity has left them, they're consuming the food they're sensitive to, or they used to, even if it was years ago. I've had people test for gluten that haven't eaten gluten in 11 years because it's still residual in their body. So that's just a sign their gut's not back to an optimal state yet. Probio 5 and BioCleanse, especially if they're not pooping. Collagen can be helpful with this because it can help with leaky gut situations. And Ease, because Ease has serrapeptase and those enzymes in Ease that really help the body to break down foreign proteins and carbohydrates in the gut. So those are your products for food sensitivities. Immune system challenges. So this, again, I call all immune system challenges your gut health because it keeps it simple for people. If you start talking to them about parasites and bacteria and candida and viruses, number one, you could get your butt in trouble because you probably don't have letters behind your name that allow you to talk about those disease states in the body. But number two, you're not going to relate to people. They're worried about their symptoms, not the actual diagnosis of what's wrong with them. So we'll get to that part. But for immune challenges, for kids, Probio 5, X Factor Kids, and Hydrate. All these kiddos are running around dehydrated. They're drinking a bunch of sugar. Also, Hydrate has zinc in it. Zinc is great for immune system. For adults for immune system challenges, Probio 5 and BioCleanse, Vital Biome works really great. And I saw someone say Vital Biome for stress. Absolutely. I have had clients who are going through stressful times in their life, like divorce, death of a family member, those kinds of unexpected things that we're muscle testing for 3 Vital Biome a day, 3 of them a day. So if you have someone who has the response to stress where they stop eating because they are just so stressed out and they feel like they're not digesting their food or they lose their appetite, Vital Biome, it's the bomb. Other immune system challenge supplements, Immune Plus, obviously. And this is where I would consider X Factor. I personally do not believe that every human on the planet needs to be on a multivitamin, especially if you are somebody who is mindful of your food choices. I think it can fill some nutrient gaps for people who travel a lot or for people who don't care to eat fruits and vegetables or people who just aren't mindful of their food choices and don't care to be. But I would say someone who's health-minded, the majority of people can be on one X Factor or just don't need it at all. And this is what I see again through muscle testing. So something to consider. If people come to me and their programs are not working for them and they're taking X Factor, I almost always end up cost-wise swapping that out for something else that I feel is going to serve them better. But it is really great for immune system challenges because when we're under immune system challenges, our body can burn through our stores of our minerals and our vitamins more quickly than we would if we are not, under an immune system challenge. Hormone support, I want to talk about for a minute. Hormones are like one of my biggest passions. I help people with their thyroids, their adrenals, their cortisol levels, all of those things holistically. I think there's so much we can do that way. I think it's one of the areas where the current medical model is really a disservice to the majority of people. A lot of people fall through the cracks, or they're told, your numbers look fine, even though they feel tired and their hair's falling out and they can't lose a pound no matter what they do, and they're not sleeping at night. Their doctor says, come back and we'll check your labs in a couple of years. They're basically saying, come see us when you're worse and we'll medicate you. So this is a big passion for me. I love to catch women in that window before they feel worse. I helped my mama take her TSH levels from a 9.5 to a 2.9 in 6 weeks with the correct products and dietary changes. So just know that a lot can be done for thyroids and adrenals and hormones holistically. All right, here we go. Hormone support. Obviously blood sugar, because insulin is a master hormone. Estrogen, testosterone, all those other things, those are all minor players. You have to balance the major guys first. So slim, block, balance. People do not have to be on all three, but they better be on at least one of those things to help support their blood sugar. I prefer slim, but if people have budgetary restrictions and they're like trying to get that program in under $150 or under $100, sometimes I'll have them do block or balance. I think balance is superior to block, but I'll have them do balance instead of slim so that we can work some other products into their regimen if they're really under some budget restrictions. MetaBurn is fabulous for thyroids. It's just really great that way. I've seen people come off of their thyroid meds because of MetaBurn. Mega X is very important for hormones. If someone is having any kind of hormone challenges, hot flashes, irritability, poor sleep, weight gain, and they know they have a hormone problem, I just really insist upon Mega X. It is actually superior to a fish oil. So if you have customers that are like, well, I'm already taking a fish oil, that's great, honey. But here's the thing about a fish oil. There's arachidonic acid in fish oil, and that has to process through your liver. And if you're having hormone problems, your liver is probably already stressed out. Mega X is a plant-based omega. It bypasses the liver. So it gets all the good stuff where it needs to go without the liver having to work harder to get it there. So just know that in that particular case, a plant-based omega is a lot better. Also, if you have a son who's allergic to fish, a plant-based omega is your only choice. You can't give that person a fish oil if they're allergic to fish. So Mega X is just, I feel like a really underused and beautiful product. Joint pain, hit it with Mega X. Sleep problems, hit it with Mega X. Heart concerns, hit it with Mega X. Hormone challenges, hit it with Mega X. It's beautiful. So much of my team takes Mega X. Sleep gummies also for hormone. Like I told you about that melatonin cortisol loop. Taking sleep gummies consistently. I've been doing this now for 40 days, trying to reprogram my cortisol loop and get back to where I feel really great. 10 years of cumulative pregnancy and nursing did not do my hormones any favors, ladies. So working to get back to baseline on that. I'm 39, so I have a while before menopause. I'm hoping I can get back to baseline here in the next 6 months and have like 10 good years before the menopause kicks in. But I do love working with women that are going through that season in their life because I think that so many, it's just underrepresented. We're not warned about it. The symptoms come on. We're not told what to expect. And then it's kind of a just deal with it thing, or they offer hormone replacement therapy. But there are so many options in between those two things that you can do with supplements and food changes and fasting and lifestyle changes that I think that I would love if they could be talked about more for people, because I think people could feel better during that time. Will some people need hormone replacement therapy? Probably so, but I think that a lot of people would be able to avoid it and feel really great without. And then Restore for hormone support, specifically because of the liver detoxification. I want to chat for just a minute about adjusting the dosage of people's supplements. So if they are having detox, and here's how I define detox. Anything on their list of concerns we are working on got worse in the first 7 to 10 days, like in that 7 to 10 day window in the first, I mean, for some people it's early, it's like day 2, day 3 that it kicks in. But if in the first 10 days, anything got worse for them and it isn't starting to improve by 10 days in. If that's the case, they are probably in need of a product adjustment. The drainage channels in the body need to be open in order for the products, or in order for the body to do its job and the products to cause improvements. So your drainage channels, poop, pee, pores, but really your lymphatic system also has to keep up, your kidneys, your liver. I trialed Restore and I did not have a wonderful testimony with it because I was trying to take it, I was following instructions and taking the product as recommended, and it was too much for me. I was taking 2 scoops a day and my body probably could have tolerated about a half scoop a day. My body could not keep up lymphatically with trying to move all those heavy metals from my tattoos and mercury fillings through the body. So I'm retrialing Restore right now and I'm doing like a third a scoop a day and I'm feeling really great on it. And I'm going to listen to my body, and over time, I will probably be able to increase that amount, but I'm definitely going to let my body take the lead. What got worse for me? Skin rashes, digestive discomfort, like lots of bloating and gas. That's really common with detox kind of anything, right? And I want to be clear. If they have that kick in like day 3, but you check in with them by day 10 and they're like, oh, the gas and the bloating is improving. I'm getting better. That's almost back to normal. It was just normal detox, normal die off. They're going to push through. But if you're checking in at day 10 and they're like, it's not better, or it's even worse than it was before, you get to help them adjust dosage. And that almost always means reducing dosage. I have had somebody with ProBio 5 who needed to open the capsule and put a third of a capsule and sprinkle it on their food. It had to be eaten with food in order to tolerate that product. Now, within 2 weeks' time, they were swallowing a full capsule. So they were able to tolerate it and build fairly quickly on that. But if people are having detox and they're uncomfortable, it is my preference to adjust their dosage rather than to tell them to push through. Because if you reach out to somebody and they're like, I, started these products and I don't feel better, and you invalidate that by saying, just push through, it's going to be fine, that's detox, they may or may not stick it out with you. So what I usually say is, for one, I say, it's your body. I'm not in your body. You know how you feel. I suspect that what you're experiencing right now is detox, which actually tells us that you need these products more than we thought. So right away, I tell them, we know we're in the right place, right? Like we are doing the right thing. I say, but my goal is for you to be comfortable enough to continue. Are you comfortable enough to continue? And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I just thought you should know that I was farting all the time, right? And you're like, okay, yeah. Sometimes they'll be like, I am having gas pains and I'm so uncomfortable and I can't go to work. Adjust their dosage. Don't make them be miserable, right? So that is really the big take home here, is if people are uncomfortable, let them know you're not the one in their body. You need them to communicate with you, but you are here to help them have the best experience. And that detox is a good sign because it means you're on the right track, but that bodies are dynamic. Everybody's body's different, and you get to play with those dosages quite a bit in the beginning. I do try to check in with people often as they get started. I would say every 3 to 5 days as they're starting on Triplex or Restore or anything that's going to detoxify them. But I also put the ball in their court and I say, I am busy, so please know that I would love if you'd reach out to me, because in my life as a mom of 4, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And they usually laugh at that. So I tell them, like, please be the squeaky oil. I want you to be, or the squeaky wheel. I want you to be the squeaky wheel. So I know that I need to get you some oil. I'm checking in with them, but I'm letting them know, like, please communicate with me above and beyond what you think might be reasonable, right? Like giving them permission to do that. Also set boundaries. I do not answer messages on Sunday in general. I'm not telling you to like answer, your friend Myrna at 4 a.m. because she had like a green bowel movement and she's wondering if that's normal. That's not what you have to do. Set those boundaries, hold those boundaries. It's part of a sustainable business, but definitely stay in communication with people as they are getting started. So how would you know what challenge they're having? By asking questions and looking for clues. What kind of questions should you ask people? I always find out sleep on a scale of 1 to 10. I find out aches and pains on a scale of 1 to 10. I find out about bowel movements, and I bet everybody on this call asks people if they're pooping right before they sign them up and get them started. I ask if weight loss is a goal of theirs, and if so, what they feel like a healthy weight is for them. And if they give me a number, I ask them when the last time was that they weighed that weight. Because a lot of times people are dreaming. They're like, I really want to weigh 121. And I'm like, when's the last time you weighed 121? When I was 16. I'm like, okay, let's find something. Let's find a target between what you currently are now and 121, and we'll shoot for that first, right? Helping them adjust those goals realistically. I also ask, and this may sound really weird because we're looking at gut health and blood sugar, but I ask what they do for a living if I don't know, because that's going to tell me a lot of clues about what products they might need, about how high stress their lifestyle is. Like if you ask people, if you say, hey, I know this sounds like a weird question, but I'm about whole body wellness. What do you do for a living? They'll tell you what they do for a living if they think you think it's important. And a lot of times you will know how stressed they are, because they'll come back and say, well, I do this, but I just really hate my job because I feel like I'm always on burnout. You know, you're going to get more information sometimes than you ask for on that one, which can be helpful for them. And again, I'm going to remind you, 90% of people start on triplex. You're just having these conversations, you're front loading them because you're like, okay, so you found out that Dawn is a hairdresser and has been a hairdresser for 20 years. And we know she's got a lot of chemical toxicity. So we're going to start Dawn on triplex, but we're going to front load it and say, hey, greens may be a product that we want to incorporate into your routine starting in month 2 to really optimize your results, to help the body with any chemical and metal toxicity. And I'm not telling people like, hey, you're a hairdresser, you're doomed, you know, this is it, quit your job or your health's going down the tubes. Like, that's not why. We want to know what they're doing to best help support them. We're not asking them to make a lifestyle change of a career. They can determine 20 years from now if that's necessary, if that's what they want to do. And I do have clients that go, you know what, you've taken me this far in 5 years. I feel great, but I'm honestly feeling like my next step is to quit my job. Okay, sweet sister. Let's talk about the income opportunity at Plexus, right? But I think just really to serve people best, we want to know as much about them as possible. And if you guys are anything like me, a lot of the people that join me, I had acquaintances joining me before I had close friends and family joining me with Plexus. So sometimes you just don't know these things about people, and it can be really helpful for you to find them out. So once you handle stressors, people are going to feel so much better. Obviously, you have to keep them consistent. That is not negotiable. But I see a lot of people who take Plexus in my office, and I want to talk about like someone brand new who comes to see me in the office and has never been on Plexus versus someone who's taken Plexus for several years and comes to see me. The difference that I see is this. Someone who comes in who has never taken Plexus products, often we will find up to 10 organ areas in their body that are crashed. So 10 organs that need nutrient support that they are not getting. They will have nervous system problems, and their list of complaints is like 8 to 12 things long. When people come in and they've been consistent with Plexus, I usually hear this. Well, I feel really great. My energy is good. You know, things are awesome, but I just still feel like I'm missing something with my adrenals and my thyroid, right? So it's like Plexus has taken them like 80% of the way. They feel so much better than they used to. But there's just one little thing that they're maybe missing, right? And that's where specific organ support and different holistic things can come in. Plexus is a one-size-fits-all blanket statement on gut health. You start people on these gut health products, they will get better. For some people, that'll be 100% of their issues. For other people, it'll be the top 80% of their issues. And then they get to kind of explore the others as everything else is, you know, feeling better, feeling good. It's like on to the next thing, right? Like, oh, hey, I'm sleeping now, I'm pooping now, I don't have sugar cravings, I'm not 30 pounds overweight. What's the next symptom? Oh yeah, my hair is still kind of falling out. Oh, let's see. That sounds like thyroid. We could try some Metaburn, right? I see here, how does Metaburn help with hormones? The grains of paradise are beautiful in that, but I am not a green personality. I would have you check the help center and talk to Dr. Hartman, because I only know that Metaburn helps with thyroids because when somebody's thyroid is weak and I put Metaburn on their body, their arm gets rock solid strong. The thyroid likes it. And I've seen their TSH levels change for the better with that product, right? So for me, it's based on clinical experience. It's not based on, I think we get so caught up in the medical model of like, what's the pill to fit the ill, right? Like you have this ill and this pill will help it. Holistic health is not that. Holistic health is like, hey, what are your symptoms? And then what's the root cause of those symptoms? And the root cause is always one of the stressors I told you about. It always is. And so while somebody might have like horrible digestive discomfort and gas from food sensitivities, for somebody else, it's small parasites. For somebody else, it's metals that aren't moving through the body appropriately. And so that's where there may be a little bit of trial and error. That's why I love our company's 60-day money back guarantee, because if I steer them in the wrong direction and they truly stay consistent for 60 days and they see no change, they get their money back. We try again. We start with a different regimen of products. So yeah, I think there's a lot of options available to help people handle those disease states in the body, and that we get to focus less on, the symptoms needing a certain fix, right? Like gas means you need Probio 5. Well, greens might help with somebody else's gas, and E's might help with somebody else. Someone else that's bio cleanse. Am I making sense? Is this like, okay, cool. That really is what I had. And that was like 10 minutes longer than I planned to go. So I was either talking slowly or I sidebarred a little bit more than I intended to. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer?
What is the max someone can take with Vital Bio? I had that question recently. Well, she wanted to know if she could take 2, and I told her definitely, but I wasn't sure what the max was.
The most I've seen someone muscle test for would be 3 Vital Biome. And that was under extreme stress, and it was only for a couple weeks, and then they stair step down to 2.
Okay. So, yeah, this was extreme stress.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely. C. diff, I would say, gosh, that's hard. I mean, from a holistic perspective, colloidal silver, which you should be able to get at kind of any health food store or make on your own if you're smarter than what I do. I have a team member on this call that can make colloidal silver. Colloidal silver, and I would say Probio 5 and Vital Biome for C. diff. Yeah. Yay, I'm glad you guys found value in this. It's absolutely my passion. And so I'm always an open book for questions. I hope this helps you help yourself, and I hope it helps you help your customers moving forward as well. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. And if you think of anything else afterwards, I am always available for questions. Have a great night.